You're listening to Power Talk, Berkeley Electric Cooperative's official broadcast about the cooperative, our communities, and ways to use energy wisely. And now, let's join our hosts for today's episode.
Good morning, Low Country. This is Libby Roerig. I am your host today for today's Power Talk. I'm Director of Marketing and Communications for Berkeley Electric. And I have two handsome guys in the studio, not one, but two. Mr. Bert Walling, the Co-op's Director of Key Accounts and Government Relations, and Mr. Bid Smith, Project Manager for Berkeley County Economic Development. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us,
Good morning. Thank you for letting us come.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, lots of good stuff to talk about today, so we'll jump right in. So, Bert, you work with the cooperative, as we mentioned. What exactly do you do in your role at the cooperative?
Well, thank you, Libby. I've been working almost 19 years for the co-ops. I'm about 4 years here at Berkeley, and I've been doing a lot of key account and here lately doing economic development. So I do government relations as well. So large accounts, bringing in new business, keeping up with existing business, as well as keeping up with our city and our municipals.
Mm-hmm.
So because we're a member-owned cooperative, all of our accounts are key accounts. But when we talk about key accounts in your scope, it's large power users.
Large power users, mainly with a lot of employees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, great. Well, Bert also has a history in energy services, and I know you help out the team during busy times, and so kind of a jack of all trades, and you bring that knowledge too to help with your key accounts and government relations. So.
Yeah, typically we do get requests from large accounts that are wanting to have energy audits, and we are typically we can help them, and always willing to do whatever we can to keep the bills lower.
Yep. So they use just the amount of energy they need to.
That's right.
Yep. Well, Bid, welcome, and I have a special prize for you. It is an official Power Talk mug. These are only distributed to people who are a guest on the show. So,
that is super cool. Thank you so much, Libby.
Part of an
really
elite alumni,
that.
So welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
Well, tell us about your background.
Wow. So I've been with Berkeley County for almost 25 years now. I spent 17 years in public works, grinding my teeth with drainage and roads and potholes and complaints and dealing with the public. In 2015, I saw an opportunity to take my career in a different direction, and I went into safety and risk management for Berkeley County, dealing with moving away from the public, from the public sector, dealing with residents to working with 1,200 employees.
Wow.
Slips, trips, and falls. So it was definitely a new career path, and that road took me into 2020 when I had the opportunity to put in for the project manager position for economic development. So. If Berkeley County has a Swiss Army knife, I might be it. So, but no, I've been blessed during my career in public service. So
awesome. Yeah. So we have two jack of all trades right here.
Yeah, for sure.
So, as an electric cooperative, it makes sense on one level that we would be involved with economic development. Bert's job is to help manage those large power accounts. We provide the energy to all these homes and businesses. So, on one level, it makes sense we'd be involved. But as a cooperative, Berkeley Electric is governed by 7 principles. And that's really what makes us different from other energy providers, that we're conscious all the time that we're owned by our members, and we put those members first, no matter what their need is. So today, in talking about economic development, concern for community is one of the 7 principles that probably most applies here. And the principle says, pretty simply, while focusing on our members' needs, cooperatives work for the sustainable development of their communities through policies accepted by the members. And, again, related to today's topic, Berkeley Electric wants our members to have good jobs and therefore a high quality of life with, their needs met and that sort of thing. So Bid and Bert, you guys work pretty closely together, and Bert, you work with our other counties that we serve as well. But, this relationship really fits into our core values.
It absolutely does, yes.
Yes.
So, before we get into recent developments in economic development, let's take a stroll down history a little bit. And, what were things like in the state, just a couple of decades ago?
Coming into the county in 1998, things obviously were a lot different back then. Public Works was growing quickly. We were on the heels of the Navy base closure. Mm-hmm. In the formation of CRDA. We were a few years removed from Nucor opening doors, which really set the standard and set the precedence moving forward for the Tri-County region. Mm-hmm. And we were all still gaining a foothold. It basically primed our area for the explosive growth that we're seeing today. So, yeah.
Yeah, we've had lots of successes, and it just seems like one success breeds more successes.
Well, it does, and also when you look at the residential foothold that was taking place back then, Daniel Island was really coming into its own. Mm-hmm. We were on the heels of also with Cane Bay entering the mix which was a game changer for Berkeley County. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Berkeley County is the largest in real estate county in the state, but also among one of the fastest growing today. What groundwork was laid all those years ago that's really paying off now?
From an economic development standpoint, I would say it would be the fee in lieu of tax program that Berkeley County was one of the first counties to use that to give us a competitive edge. Industrial development in general is very competitive across the country, particularly in the Southeast. The fee in lieu of tax allowed us to really step up our game and compete for these projects that are bringing the higher wages, that are bringing the advanced manufacturing jobs that everybody wants. Without the FELO, it would be a different story, though. The way we're structured in this state from a tax standpoint, particularly on personal property and real property, other states can be upwards of 20 to 30% cheaper to do business, and that includes the state of Georgia. Wow. So the usual suspects when we're competing for projects, it's going to be your Tennessees, it's going to be your Georgias. So the FELO really laid the groundwork back in the day to, and again, set the standard on how we were going to move forward.
And how does fee in lieu of tax work for someone who's not familiar with the principle? So
South Carolina, personal property and real property for manufacturing was taxed at 10.5%. Mm-hmm. Okay, the FELO, depending on the capital investment, there's Department of Revenue and Department of Commerce allows counties to offer the FELO for the investments that come. I think it's $2.5 million minimum investment with jobs that are equivalent to our Tier 1 county. So currently our average wage in Berkeley County is $24 an hour, give or take. And that number, we've actually been able to increase that number $1 an hour over the last 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And again, a lot of that's directly related to industrial development.
Yeah.
So it just makes it also allows us to lock in the millage rate of a company, so they can forecast what their taxes will look like over a 10 to 30 year period.
Yeah.
So, but we don't exercise it a lot. The projects that are important that we feel that we need to go after, those are the ones we really use it for.
Yeah. So
Senate Bill 1098, I believe, was passed last year, which helped make the state more competitive as well. It took the manufacturers' personal property or real property from 10.5 to an effective 6%. Mm-hmm. So that's helped us out a lot as well. We don't know that it's going to be a permanent transition. It may roll back, but we're taking advantage of it now, and we're using that as a competitive edge to attract businesses statewide.
Wow.
Yep.
So, going back to that governing principle for cooperatives, concern for community, Berkeley Electric strives to be a partner in helping our members, have the best opportunities possible. And that's why we work closely with the school districts and the Tri-County to support education and technical training and to look for other opportunities to help constantly build that stronger future. And Bert, why don't you speak a little bit to this? When we're at the table considering a big industry has us as a prospect, we don't look at the other utilities in the area as competition. We see it as a good opportunity, whether it's on our lines or another provider's lines, as a job for our members. So, whether we serve it or another business does, we're all in this together and want what's best for our members. So what's some of that working relationship like?
Well, we do have a great partnership with Dominion Energy. I do believe it's been a good opportunity to become closer with those folks. We a lot of times work, if we have electric, they have gas. So we're definitely working to do the same project. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like we compete. We know where our lines are.
Yeah.
And if the business wants to move here, we do like to give a good rate, mm-hmm. try to be very open to helping them with startup. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel like we are, big competitors. I think we show a lot of companionship together to bring in new businesses. That's how we are formed.
Yeah.
So, and I think we both feel that way. Mm-hmm. And that's my other role is working with her on government relations. Mm-hmm. So we work real good together.
Yeah.
So partnerships are very strong.
Yeah. Yeah. And we, in our department, Bert and I have our offices next door and work together, but we say we're in the relationship business in our department.
Yeah, absolutely.
So nurturing those relationships is important.
Yeah, if we can't build relationships, I don't know if we can continue.
No, and listen, relationships are part of it. I mean, the relationships that I'm building today and next week, mm-hmm. they're not for next year. They're for a couple years down the road when that last mile of economic development is pushing through Berkeley County.
That's right.
I mean, we definitely have an embarrassment of riches right now as it relates to quality of life and workforce and location. But again, relationships matter.
Relationships do.
Trust is important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're just tuning in with us, we're joined by Bert Walling, Director of Key Accounts and Government Relations for Berkeley Electric, and Bid Smith, Project Manager for Berkeley County Economic Development. So, Bert, Bid, you kind of touched on this just a second ago. Berkeley County is such a special place. I grew up in the Low Country, and my husband and I, we moved around to the Midwest for a better part of 10 years and have lifelong friends there, but there's nothing like the Low Country.
Agreed.
And a lot of prospective businesses are also seeing that. So what is it about Berkeley County that really catches the eye of some of these businesses that have chosen to locate here?
Sure. That's a question we get a lot. When companies coming in the door, they want to know a lot of analytics about the region and things like that. But, being a lifelong Berkeley County native and 25-year employee with Berkeley County, quality of life is way up there. You look at access to a world-class workforce. Mm-hmm. And we build jets, we build automobiles, we do all sorts of advanced manufacturing, and that's and not to mention our low taxes. Mm-hmm. That's not lost on companies either. I mean, if you look at the county's millage rate, we have probably the lowest millage rate of any county in the state right now.
Yeah.
And that's because of economic development for the most part. Mm-hmm. We invest those dollars back in Berkeley County, back in utility infrastructure, back in sheriff's department, back in EMS. We've historically we've actually rolled our millage rate backwards over the last 5 years ago. The millage rate was 290 mills. Right now it's 293.7.
Wow!
So the cost of doing business in Berkeley County is cheaper than most counties in the region.
Yeah.
So.
And that quality of life is so important. We have year-round outdoor activities, proximity to Charleston, and all the culture that brings.
Yes. Beaches,
mountains.
Absolutely. And, Berkeley County being the largest county in the state by land, I think what's also important is balancing industrial and residential growth with what makes us special, and that's our environment. Right at 50% of Berkeley County is locked up in conservation easements and green spaces, and will never be developed. And that's something that not a lot of regions and communities can tout. So for the future, that's something that we feel that's important, and that's a selling point as we continue to manage that growth.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned, Berkeley County is definitely in an enviable position growth-wise, and we can be selective about who we want to bring into the community. But let's talk a little bit about managing growth and where we go kind of from here.
Yeah, we're at the point now when you look at how fast the region's growing, right? So the Charleston MSA is the second fastest growing region in the area. Berkeley County is, of course, the second fastest growing county in the state. The net gain to the Charleston region every day is approximately 39 people, with 19 people coming to Berkeley County. So when you factor in that growth, management and trying to best grow that in a smart way is very important. And I think the county's done an amazing job over the years with that. That work, play, live model. Jim Rozier, previous supervisor, amazing guy. I worked with him. He was the first supervisor that I worked for. That was kind of his vision as we continued to grow through the 90s of work, play, and live. And if you look at the corridor from Monk's Corner to Somerville to Goose Creek, that triangle, that's what we strove for many years. And it really didn't take effect until Cane Bay. Cane Bay really hit the scene in the late 90s, and we started seeing that movement toward work, play, and live. And in 2014, when Nexton broke ground, that was the culmination of years and years of hard work to make that happen, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about that. But it is tough though, because our primary growth zone for residential and industrial all fall in the same region along that I-26 corridor, which, by the way, is the hottest market, in my opinion, not only in the state but possibly in the country right now. There's world class jobs, world class manufacturing and companies moving here, and having access to that population, which, by the way, that population in the next 15 years is scheduled to be larger than the town of Mount Pleasant.
Wow.
Just explosive growth in that area.
Yeah.
So we have to be selective though on what we're trying to attract. The secret sauce of economic development for years was always high capital investment, high wages, high job numbers. And that's still true for the most part, but when you have an unemployment rate in our region of less than 3%, we have to be careful about, if a company's looking to land 3,000 and 4,000 jobs, we're not a player for that most likely.
Yeah.
We really have to. So we're at the point where we do have to be selective. Quality of life is important, and not only to our residents, but also to our existing industries. They're all competing for the same workforce, that highly skilled workforce that call our region home.
Definitely. Yeah, and with your public works background, the impact on roads and bridges is probably always in the forefront of your mind.
It is, and I would say this. Education is paramount when it comes to infrastructure. The vast majority of roads in South Carolina are all state maintained, state owned.
Yep.
South Carolina is the 40th largest state in the country, but our DOT has the 4th largest state-owned infrastructure in the country. And to put that in perspective, South Carolina has 44,000 center lane miles of roads. When you compare that to Georgia, Georgia has half that amount.
Wow.
And they're twice the size of South Carolina, probably 3 or 4 times the population.
Wow.
So we're definitely a well-connected state from an infrastructure standpoint. But these roads, we have to be cognizant of that when we're talking industries and impacts to that.
Yeah.
Going after projects that are rail, taking advantage of rail. And again, proximity to the interstate, because that's what the interstate was made for. It was made for commerce.
Yeah.
And we realize that. So Berkeley County is very proactive when it comes to this. We started the 1 cent sales tax back in 2008 to not only, when I came to the county, there was probably 400 miles of dirt roads and 200 miles of paved roads that the county maintains. I mean, again, these secondary roads, the majority of roads in the county that you drive on are not county roads; they're state roads.
Yeah.
The neighborhoods, that's different; those are county roads. But what we find ourselves doing now, and as we should, the 1 cent sales tax that we're doing, applying that towards state roads, because the states definitely. They're focusing on I-26. That's their focus right now. 6-laning that from Greenville to Charleston.
And that will be great.
And that will absolutely be great. Eventually, they will finish up the 526 loop. They will be starting the largest infrastructure project in state history coming up for Interstate 20 and I-26 interchange, which is Malfunction Junction. That's what it's known as. So, but for our part, we will continue to help push that along as well. We've phase 1 of the 176 widening project is under construction. Phase 2 was approved last year on the referendum, and phase 3 is being paid for by Redwood Material as part of them landing here. So we're super excited about that. And again, that falls in our primary growth area of residential and industrial. So it's definitely needed.
Yeah.
So the county's being very proactive. Our leadership, our council, they're very working very hard to keep the state roads moving in the right direction, as well as our existing county roads. So.
Well, you just mentioned Redwood Materials. Let's talk a little bit about some of the recent projects. We've taken a look historically at where we've been, and so what are some of the recent projects that Berkeley County has landed that you're proud of?
In 3 years, we've had an incredible run. Almost $5.5 billion of capital investment, over 2,000 jobs. And we talk about the new projects, but I think it's important to also mention that the existing industries are the lifeline when it comes to counties. And the fact that if you look at the investments that Nucor Steel has made over the last couple of years, $600 million. When you look at the expansion of Google, Volvo, Volvo, their second line for the Polestar 3, the EX90, the battery manufacturing plant. Just knowing that they're comfortable enough to expand in our region screams tons about how well we're doing as both a region and a county, and we're proud of that point. But for new projects, obviously Redwood was very exciting. It was a rainy day in December of 2021 that we met a project out at Camp Hall. Didn't know who they were, but I knew we were in the presence of something special. Some of the smartest people I've ever sat in a room with. And we trudged around Camp Hall with CRDA and Santee Cooper, showing the sites, and then we got ghosted. Everything went quiet. Everything went really quiet for several months, and in May of 2022, they came back with a vengeance, and it was just a race for the finish line. And I probably aged a little bit on the former economic development director, Crystal Lanier. She was a rock star through that for me, and her leadership, and then once it was elevated to the incentive level and things like that, county council and the administration just did a phenomenal job of negotiating that deal and making sure that Berkeley County was being taken care of.
Yeah. And this is not just a historic announcement for Berkeley County. It's for the state. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, yeah. $3.5 billion is the largest capital investment, single investment by any company in state history.
Wow.
And last year, Berkeley County carried over 40% of all capital investment in the state. So we're really excited about it. And if you look back from 2015, we've averaged about $1 billion of capital investment since then, and it all started with Volvo.
Yeah.
And so again, we're in a good spot. We will continue. Will we see that number that we had last year? No, that's the unicorn of years, right?
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about the future, particularly with Redwood in particular, because if you look at their average wages, $26, $27 an hour for entry-level blue-collar jobs, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
These manufacturing jobs with the neighborhoods and subdivisions that are being constructed, these are the wages that you need to live and to make it into those. So we're excited about that, and we have several great projects in our pipeline that I'm hoping that we can announce this year. So keeping my fingers crossed. It's always a moving target, but we're in a really good spot.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about those solid wages for families, for a kid to grow up in a home that they're able to make ends meet and provide for those children, it just generationally it changes the landscape.
Oh, it no doubt about it. And again, skilled trades are very important.
Oh yeah.
We back in the 90s we saw a move away from skilled trades and tech schools to 4-year college, and unfortunately we're seeing that the dividends of that being paid back right now when it comes to welding, when it comes to plumbing, when all these different trades that need to be filled.
Yeah.
So economic development also gives back in the way that we fund welding programs in our high schools. We've got some of our existing industries, they with military contracts and federal contracts, needing thousands of welders, to help fill that need. So we're very proactive on trying to recruit and train. So.
Yeah, and Berkeley Electric was proud to partner on the Timberland Welding Program to help support that.
Absolutely, yeah. Bert is my go-to. Bert's always there for me. I feel bad sometimes because these projects are coming fast and furious. And one of the things that a big pro about it is the co-op. That your rates are among the lowest around. And Bert has never failed me, never let me down at all. And he not only is he a friend, but he goes the extra mile, and he's a credit to this organization for sure.
Definitely, we're lucky to have you, Bert.
Yeah.
Well, Ben and I have a great relationship. I've always told him if I see him calling me, I'm going to answer it. And I think I was on vacation, and I said I answered it. So I do believe, a dear friend. I do believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I asked him, "What are you doing to answer my call on vacation?" Right? Nothing is that important, right? But no, the co-op is just an amazing ally, and we've done a lot of great things together, and we will continue to do that.
And we appreciate you, Ben.
Yeah.
And, Berkeley Electric has been growing at the same rate as the rest of the area. We have to provide service to all those homes and businesses. And, really our goal is to stay small. We're a large utility, one of the largest in the country, but we really want our employees to feel like they're part of a family. And for our members to always be able to get somebody on the phone and us help them solve whatever issue they have. So staying small while we're getting big.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we only have a few more minutes. Time flies while you're having fun. But, just to go back to a little bit on the managing growth, we've seen some communities come into the area that are striving to be more self-contained. Instead of getting in your car to commute to work, they seem to want to drive in their golf carts to work and the store and whatnot. So that's certainly a strategy that helps everybody. Again, going back to the traffic on roads. Big, can you tell us a little more about that?
It does. You hear a lot from the public, and I get it, right? I mean, when I see a big box going vertical, right, I see the opportunity for wages and good paying jobs. What the public may see, though, is more wait time, more truck traffic, more potholes, right? So, but you have to find that balance, though. When somebody says, "Well, stop developing until the infrastructure catches up," the infrastructure will never catch up. I mean, DOT will tell you right now they're 30 years behind on state secondary roads, which is one of the reasons why Berkeley County's been so proactive about stepping up.
Yeah.
So we knowing that work, play, and live mentality is real now, right? I mean, if you go to Nexton is that model, right? Daniel Island is that model. I think you'll continue to see that in the future. But we also know that the I-26 corridor is kind of on cruise control, so we're managing that growth. Where the administration and council has asked us to really work hard, and we are, is the rural parts of Berkeley County. Supervisor Cribb likes to mention, and for good reason, that tides haven't lifted all ships in Berkeley County. And if you look at the northern part of the county, and particularly the St. Stephen area, the closure to the lumber mill.
Yep. Paper plant.
Yeah, the paper plant. That created a lot of concerns, a lot of job losses. So we're proactively working in that region. We applied for an EPA brownfield assessment grant last year, and we won it the first year. And
Wow.
so we're applying that grant to the St. Stephen and surrounding area, identifying sites that help support economic development. We're doing phase 1 environmental assessments on properties as we speak, not only for the town but the surrounding area. We're really excited about that. And again, what we really want to do is bring jobs and prosperity back to the northern part of the county, and we're going to work hard on that. The Berkeley County owns an 80-acre tract parcel that was the old Santee lumber mill, the Turner Mill site.
Okay.
We're working through environmental assessments on that property now. It's rail served, which is very important these days in economic development, and all in the hopes of landing a good quality manufacturing facility and company that brings those wages back, because the workforce in the St. Stephen area is incredible, absolutely incredible. And if you look at Berkeley County as a whole, over 50% of people travel outside of Berkeley County for employment opportunities, right? So when you start talking about infrastructure and roadways, if we can keep people in Berkeley County with good paying jobs, that's less impact we're going to have on infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we'll continue that process to manage the I-26 corridor while working very hard in the northern part of the county to bring good paying jobs and wages back.
Well, Bid, you and the team at Berkeley County are doing important work, and we could talk all day about this, I know, but we appreciate you coming in, and to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Power Talk. This is the official broadcast of your local electric cooperative. You can catch up on past episodes on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. Get a behind-the-scenes look on Berkeley Electric's YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.